Welcome to the Why Not podcast with me, Chrissy Hawkins. In a world where everybody always asks you why, I'm here to ask why not. I'm going to do that by breaking down the mindsets of guests and my own to figure out what makes people say, why not? Hi guys, welcome back to Why Not. So I just wanted to have a little chat today about body image and maybe looking back on photos of ourselves and kind of looking towards them as what our inspiration is, or like maybe looking at pictures of other people and they're your inspiration, and then maybe it causes you anxiety and stress, and maybe how we can look deeper into those photos and break it down a little bit more. So I talk about my own experience in this and looking back on a specific photo that I looked at last year, and just, you know, how I feel about it now, and if I look back in the actual time and how different it is to what I would you actually think, I suppose, in a sense. But anyway, guys, I'll let the episode explain that instead. So as ever, I just want you to sit back and relax or walk and listen, but here is my podcast today on images. What's behind the images? Hi guys, welcome back to Why Not. So here we are, second week of January, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about body image in a sense, and setting goals and weight loss goals for us, because obviously we're in that time of the year where everyone's like back to the gym, getting back into it, and you possibly have a goal, and if you don't, you probably are looking at a photo of yourself from whenever you were maybe at your ideal weight, or it could be not your ideal weight but you think is your ideal weight, or you're looking at a model or a pop star or someone like that who you think has your body goal. And while I think it's really helpful to have a goal to work towards, I wanted to talk about the flip side of that, and how it may not always be amazing, or it may not be what you really want, or what you could not potentially achieve. Like in some instances, maybe if you're looking at a photo of yourself at 18 before you had any responsibilities, when you were still really young, because we are always growing, we do kind of fill out as we get older in a natural sense, not that we all get fat, it's more like, you know, we kind of grow into ourselves, if that makes sense. And another thing is with being 18 is you tend to have a lot less responsibility, so it's easier if you want to do anything. So, you know, if you only way for you to get back to your, say, 18-year-old body would be to train 5 days a week, twice a day, yet you've got 2 kids now, or you've got a 9-to-5 job, it might be very hard to do that again. And not that you should let go of that dream, but maybe a more realistic dream is better for you, as opposed to aiming for that younger look, or not younger look, but that look or that size of when you were that age. So that's one thing that's kind of small and always good to think about. And then another thing I wanted to refer back to is actually a story about myself. And I put up a post ages ago showing a side by side myself. At one point when I was, I think, just 20, I was 46 kilos. And at the time of this happening, or when this happening, I just was going through a world's worst thing. I was going through a breakup. And, you know, as I was 20, it was with my first, say, long-term boyfriend, who I'd been with for 3 years. And, you know, like at that age, it's like the end of the world. So what did I do? I was like, I don't know what to do. So I went into an overdrive mode. So when I get stressed and upset, instead of emotionally eating, I'm one of those who loses their appetite when I get emotional. So I was finding it very physically difficult to eat, as opposed to eating to comfort myself, which resulted in, at the time, I was working a summer job in a bank, 9-to-5 thing. And basically what would happen is I'd get up in the morning, I'd have breakfast, I'd go to work, I'd have lunch there, and lunch would be kind of like a dinner, and then I'd either, in the evening when I finished work, I'd either get the bus up to the yard to see my horse, or I would get the bus to the gym, because I was in DCU gym then, because I was going to DCU, and I would go, and I'd probably generally spend about 90 minutes maybe, at least an hour generally on the stepper, just going up and down, getting a big sweat on, and I'd go around and use the fixed weight because I wasn't bothered using the proper weights anymore, because it's just easier to fix weights. And I'd do that 2 to 3 times a week, and I'd probably go to Sam 2 to 3 times a week, and I'd go home and I wouldn't eat and I'd go to bed. And I'd get up in the morning and I'd repeat. And what happened there was, as I said, I dropped to 46 kilos at that time in my life. And I thought this was great, like, so I was finally skinny. I'd always wanted to be skinny. No, I didn't get the thigh gap, but I had a flat stomach, and I could kind of see my hip bones popping out. And so if I was wearing, like, okay, if anyone grew up when I grew up, like, this was before the high rise came in. It was still kind of late, like, it was probably 2010, 2011. This story happened, and probably 2011ish. And anyway, so we still had like low rise jeans and low rise shorts and stuff like that. So if I wanted to wear low rise shorts, you could see my hips and everything like that. And that was kind of what was portrayed as something that was like what you wanted, basically, the look you wanted to have, because of the media. And I was like, deadly, look, I have a lovely flat stomach, I have this, I had no boobs, because I don't have boobs anyway, and they were completely gone. And if I wanted to wear like a belly top, I was like, class, brilliant, and I thought this was great. And when I think about it, it really wasn't, because I remember at times, like, I'd be going up to Sam and I'd be really tired, and I was like, oh, I'll just go for a hack around the field, like. And the reason I was really tired is because I wasn't eating. Like, I wasn't sleeping great either because of what was going on. And then I was going to work at 9 to 5, and then I wasn't eating. And then, going to the gym, I was just doing this like hour long on the cardio, on the stepper, up and down, up and down, up and down. And I'm surprised no one ever said anything to me, because it was definitely dodged looking. But yeah, so this is what was happening. And to me, like, now I look back and I look at them and I was like, oh my god, I was so skinny. Like, I'm sit between 56 and 58 now, so I'm 10 kilos heavier than I was at the time. And obviously at the time I couldn't see this, and in my head, like, I was going through a breakup, so I had to try and look good or something like that. So I was just flipping myself into this, like, I need to be skinny, I need to be this, I need to be that, when it was the only way. Like, I wasn't dealing with what was going on. And then I ended up getting into a different relationship and started drinking and eating, and then I'd say within a couple of months it was all back on and then some. So another thing about it is it wasn't physically sustainable for the long term. I think I was that weight maybe for a couple of weeks, and then of course when I started eating normally again, my weight went up, and then I rebounded to the other extreme, because I started eating takeaways twice a week, and big amounts, and, like, drinking and stuff like that. And because I was with someone else and I was no longer, like, emotionally unable to eat and stuff like that. So then you flip side to the other side, and I was like, I'm never gonna say I was fat, but I definitely put on a bit of weight. You can see it in my face, that kind of thing. And eventually over time I kind of leveled back out again, and over the years, like, my weight has fluctuated a little bit, which is completely normal, because we're human. Like, we're not going to stay the same weight. So in my younger years it would have been between, like, eating too much in a sense versus under eating, and going to the extremes on either side. And I look back now and I'm like, oh god, that was not healthy and that was not good. Whereas now I'm in a more, I say, balanced mindset. I eat a bit of everything and I train hard, and I kind of maintain in around the same weight for the last couple of years. That said, even over the lockdown, I was training a lot more because, well, I had nothing else to do. Again, this is how I dealt with what was going on with things. And I would train. I possibly overtrained a little bit to an extent. Now, I did get injured actually at one point. I get myself tendonitis in my shoulder. But so there was a case of overtraining to a point where I actually gave myself an injury. and I possibly wasn't fueling myself properly then. And again, I got a little bit leaner, yet I put on a kilo. So obviously I put on muscle weight, which I'm not upset about, and I'm at the point now whereas if the weighing scales go up, go down, they don't bother me. But like that, I put on weight over the lockdown, but if you look at photos of me, I look leaner. So, it's interesting. And again, as I said, I'm fairly certain during that time I was using exercise as a way to deal with what was going on, because I couldn't do anything. But you could go out for a run and I could train at home, so why would I not keep doing that? It was kind of one thing that kept me going in a sense. And I think when we look at these, it's very easy, that was kind of went off on a little tangent there, but when we look at these photos of ourselves when we're younger and we look at this thing that our ideal body, or look at that, like, I think it's really important to look at it and say, like, remember everything else that was going on. Like, were you happy at the time? What was going on in your life? Were you enjoying your life, for want of a better description? Like, what, was there some turmoil? Was there some drama going on? Like, for me, like, if I looked back on that and went, God, I'd love to be that weight again, I have to also remember the fact that I was under eating because I was really emotional. I was doing far too much cardio and I wasn't feeling myself, and that's how I got that weight. And we need to remember, like, okay, so maybe you look at a photo from your wedding day and you're like, God, I'd love to look like that again. Again, like, were you overly stressed coming up to the wedding? Was that causing you to maybe undereat, or miss meals because you were running around and stuff like that? Like, so when you look back on these, kind of try and put it in perspective without just looking at the rose-coloured glasses. And you know what? You could be looking back at a time when you were a certain weight and looking at yourself and going, God, I looked amazing. And it was a perfectly happy time in your life. And maybe you've gone the other way in a sense that maybe you've dropped or gained weight because of something like the pandemic, because like that, things were stressful and we didn't know what was going to happen. We still don't know what's going on because, life. But that's another reason to understand that, yes, if you, like, things made us a bit more sedentary. We got stuck in this thing where we couldn't go and do things, which obviously makes it a lot harder to maintain a certain weight. So maybe you're looking at a photo of yourself out on a hike. They used to go hiking every 2 weeks, and that's why you're in, like, feeling so fit and strong and stuff like that, and you haven't been able to hike for 6 months because restrictions keep changing. Like, maybe you went around the world and stuff like that. Like, that's all right. It's okay to acknowledge that. And maybe you're out of the flow of hiking, which again is fine, but it doesn't mean you can't get back to it. Like, so there are, like, two sides to it. Like, there are times when you could be looking at a photo of yourself going, God, look at the shape I was in, or look at this and look at that, and it could be like a brilliant memory. And then with that, like, you could be going, okay, well, what, you could look at that as a motivator and to go, okay, what did I do at that time to help me get back to that? Okay, like that, I was going hiking, I used to go to the gym, I used to make all these great food stuff, and then, like, I just got lazy because I didn't feel the need to, anything like that. That could be easily something that you could do. Like, you can use it in two forms. Like, you can look at it and go, really, was that sustainable? Was I in a good place? Or you can also turn back at it and look at it and go, what could I do to get myself back to that? So that's another really, I think, really good way of looking at it is, so if I look at myself now, the photos have been coming back from when I did my photo shoot, and sometimes I'm looking at them going, wow, why don't I look like that? Because, well, I don't look like that normally. The thing I have to remember there is, that training that I was to get in that shape is not sustainable. However, I can still get myself in fairly good shape without having to do that extreme training. So I just have to kind of accept that for me, a sustainable amount won't be like having abs and a six-pack probably, but I can have some definition around the abs and I can have nice big shoulders. And I think for the next while I'm going to focus on maybe trying to grow my shoulders or building myself up a little bit more, because obviously it's winter's for bulking. For anyone who's trying to lose weight right now, it's the wrong time of the year to do it. I'm only messing. So I think we have to remember, like, you know, even the most confident people out there, or people who seem like they're really confident, will have issues from day to day. Like, even models, even like the Instagram influencers, you know, any of them, they're not 100% non-body conscious 100% of the time. Like, it does happen, it comes in waves. There's days where you feel bleh and you wonder, like, what are you doing? It's just called being human. I find the worst is when you're on your period and you look yourself in the mirror and you're like, when did I get so fat? And you didn't. You're just carrying extra water weight, and like a week later it passes and you're like, oh yeah, I wasn't. And like, even all that week, I will find I'll look at myself and I go, oh, and then like remind yourself, being like, you're not, you know, it's just a temporary thing, it'll be gone. And it's always gone like clockwork. But like, you kind of almost have to have that triggered response in your head every time, I think. I don't know if this happens to other people, I assume it does. But even if you're on the likes of, say, the pill and stuff like that, that can affect your hormones, that can affect like some slight weight gain. You know, then obviously as well, even though you have lighter periods, or pill bleeds as they're called, they can still, you can still get yourself looking bloated and feeling the exact same as you do, you know, in your period. And the worst part as well is just before your period, you know, with your PMS, or, you know, the hormones dropping as well when you go off the pill for the off week. Like, it's that whole, you feel bad about yourself because the hormones are dropping anyway, and then you look at yourself in the mirror and you look at your body and you go, oh, I look shit, you know. It's just a really awkward catch-22. So if you catch yourself, if you see yourself doing that, try and catch yourself and go, well, hold on, this is a temporary thing, it's going to be here for, you know, 1 week, and then it'll be gone, and then 3 weeks later it'll come back and ruin my life again. However, what we're going to do is we're going to take that away from the thoughts that we're having, and we're going to go, okay, so this is happening this week, okay, this happens once a month, I'm noticing this happening now, and like, sit with the feeling, like, not even sit with the feeling, just kind of go, okay, so why am I feeling like this? Okay, great, what is it? Oh yeah, this is what happens. So try to be logical about it, maybe, in a sense. Obviously, if it's outside of the period and you're feeling bad about yourself, or you're looking at the photos and stuff like that, I always want to say, look deeper like that. If I looked at that photo and go, God, I wish I was that skinny, but have to look back and go, do I? Like, realistically, what was going on at that time, you know? Look back, break it down, see what it is, what is causing you to feel that way. Is it because you feel like you need to look a certain way, or is it because you felt in a better place when you look at those photos, like at those times? Like I said, like, was it when you were out doing this, that and the other? Are you under pressure from family members? Do you feel it from social media? Do you see people sharing stuff? Is it the fact that you keep seeing like all these transformation shots left, right and centre, and you feel like you haven't done that yet? These are things we need to ask ourselves, like, you know, why am I feeling like this? What is triggering this? Is there something I can do about it? Is there something I can do? Or is it like when it's your time in the month and it's just water weight that you're just going to have to wait for the week to pass? So, like, you know, if it's a case of, yeah, I can start making changes here, I can start eating, you know, more vegetables and less takeaways, and I can start walking a bit more, and then I can join the gym when I feel ready, or I can just take the plunge and join the gym. These are things we can do. But then if it's a physiological thing, like your period making you bloated and hold water, then there's nothing you can do about it. And then at those times are the times you want to catch yourself and go, look, I am an amazing human being, I am a woman, and this is what comes with being a woman, because we are awesome and we can do shit that men can't, and that is why they do not get this lovely week of pain and suffering and bloating. And can you tell how much I love about the ovulation, or the menstruation cycle? I joke. But yeah, it is something that's worth, you know, thinking. Like, try and catch yourself. If you know it's that time, catch yourself and go, this is out of my control. If it's something that's in your control, take that control. Don't keep pushing it off, right? The worst thing you can do is push it off if it is something that you really want to do. changing is hard. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to be enjoyable. It's going to take longer than you think, but it's worth taking that time than doing another crash diet. If the reason you don't want to do anything is because nothing ever works, the likelihood is you took on something that was too much mental strain, too much physical strain, and that's why you weren't able to sustain it. By doing it gradually over time, including foods you enjoy, and including like a gradual build up of exercise as opposed to going 6 times a week from the gate, is how you keep it going. And the thing is, even if you do it in a sustainable manner, there's going to be days where you don't want to do it. There's going to be days where you're struggling to get going. There's going to be days where you just don't feel like training. You'd rather go home. You'd rather stay in bed. The last thing you want to do is get out for a walk because it's raining. That's normal. That's called being human. But it's the days that you go when you don't want to go that are the ones that really make a difference over then perfection. The day where you show up and you're a few days off your period and you just do what you can do as opposed to skipping it all together are the days to make a difference. It's the days where you're really tired and you actually decide, I'm too fatigued, I'm taking a break today. They're the days that make a difference. It's the day where you call your mate and go for a walk instead of lying in bed all day. They're the days that make a difference. And we put so much pressure on being perfect and getting everything right, 100% right, and like longing for, as I said, this photo snapshot in time that we don't remember anything other than that's the ideal body, or looking at this person and going, that's the ideal body, with no context as to how their life is or are they in a good state. And these are the things that stop us from ever trying, because we think I can never get back to that, or I can never get like that, when maybe you can, but also maybe you don't need to. Maybe you need to learn something different and get happier in your own self and be happy with what you have, as opposed to looking for what you think you need. I think that's really, really important, because as I said, talking to my story from before, I thought I needed to be that weight, to be skinny, to be, this look, or I wasn't attractive. I now know that's not the case. Many, many years later, nearly 10 years later? It is 10 years later. But, it takes time to reprogram yourself to think that as well. Like, it didn't happen overnight. It took years of flipping and flopping through silly things and doing different things, and eventually just getting there in the end. And I think we all do get there in the end if we really try, and it just takes a lot of rewiring. And not every day is going to be perfect, because that's just how life is. It's not always going to be perfect, but 80% of the time tends to be pretty good. Be happy with that. And I hope this all made sense. I just really want to talk about just like say my own experience in this, where like, I have looked back on photos during the lockdowns and be like, God, I was a bit leaner then, I liked that and that looked cool, and how do I do that again? Oh yeah, I need to like train till I start getting pains and being overexhausted and running myself into the ground, which is probably not great, because as I said, I dealt with it by training and it wasn't exactly healthy. But nothing about this time has been healthy. So you have to remember as well, looking back at that, going, okay, right, so I might be carrying a few extra pounds now, but that's okay, because I'm actually in a better place mentally. And it's very hard to get used to that. And, it's very hard to accept that sometimes, because we're told we shouldn't be like that. But the thing is, if we did accept ourselves not in this perfect body image, they wouldn't have anything to sell to us either. So that is the problem. I think fitness industry and a lot of these industries, or health industry, wellness industry, there's a lot to be said for the shite they will sell people in order to make money. But there's also a lot to be said for a lot of the people out there who are there to actually genuinely help people and improve their health and feel good about the way they themselves, and be doing it for the right reasons, not just because some certain magazine told you that you need to, weigh no more than 50 kilos, or lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks, because who needs those pounds anyway? I don't know. Stuff like that. Like, things aren't sustainable, but they get a quick result, so you keep coming back to them. So our little story here is, not having a six-pack is great sometimes, because it means you can eat and enjoy yourself. Weight gain and weight fluctuation is very, very normal, and do not beat yourself up for it, because it just means you're human and we are not robots. And be careful what you are looking for when you're looking at and pining over certain types of looks, including yourselves and other people's. And yeah, a lot of reprogramming, it takes time. Don't expect it to happen overnight, and don't get mad at yourself because it's not happening overnight. And make sure this January, if you are starting a fitness goal, it's for you and for nobody else. Not because you feel like you have to, not because all your friends are doing it, unless you want to do it as a group and have fun together. That's totally cool. And not because you were told that you had to. By someone, like if someone made a remark over Christmas that made you feel like you now need to, because otherwise you're a failure. Don't listen to them either, because they are arseholes and they can I joke. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope I did make sense in it. As ever, guys, if you do want to find me, you will find me on Instagram. It's Chrissy H Fitness. I am also on TikTok with the same name. I haven't posted on TikTok in ages, but you will find me there. And also www.chrissyhawkins.com. And thanks again for listening. Really do appreciate all the feedback again. So do let me know how you found the podcast. Drop me a review, share it on your stories, anything like that. And I'm so glad you joined me again. Thanks again. Thank you again for listening to the Why Not podcast. It really means a lot that you are listening in, and I would love if you could please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or subscribe on Spotify. And always, I'd love to hear feedback personally, so if you do want to leave me a message and let me know how you found the podcast, please do.